the benefits of a long-term financial education programme?
I think the key thing, particularly when you're thinking about it in terms of retirement and that saving that you're doing almost throughout your working life leading up to retirement, is that ultimately there is a shared objective by the employer and the employee. So for the employer, they need to manage an ageing workforce, and there's a lot of companies out there at the moment that have an ageing workforce because of the demographics of the UK. So how do you manage that? But then from the employee perspective, of course, they have an objective. If you speak to most of them, they don't want to work forever. At some point, they do want to retire. They may have different points, but they do want to retire. So really, there's a shared objective there of the employer managing an ageing workforce and the employee are ultimately wanting to retire. So financial education plays a critical role in reaching that shared objective in terms of managing those pensions and indeed, of course, in the new world, could be other things like ISAs and even company share schemes to ensure that shared objective can be met in a meaningful way and people believe that they can retire and indeed have a happy retirement from a financial perspective, whatever that may mean for that individual. I think the other thing as well, particularly with the change in regulation, is that because of the options and because of the complexity undoubtedly that will lead to, is that people really need to understand when they can afford to retire and are they going to get the money they think they're going to get. And already you can see that there's examples that are coming out where people need to be careful. So if you like at the bottom end where people have smaller pots, there's a view that a lot of them, they will not take advice, they want to draw out the cash, but as we know, if you draw out the cash, it's treated as income. So need to be very careful that people with small pots who may be basic rate taxpayers and have been basic rate taxpayers all their lives do not end up actually becoming a higher rate taxpayer overnight because they've drawn out all their pension and then their quite modest pot becomes even smaller because of that. At the other extreme, people that have bigger pots, maybe have multiple pensions, maybe have multiple types of pensions, final salary schemes, DC schemes, may have ISAs, is actually thinking about how they manage their retirement income in a tax efficient manner. So for example, people now have the ability to almost create their own personal allowance in retirement. So if you think you've got some money invested in a pension, you've got some money invested in an ISA, if you draw the money from the ISA as opposed to the pension, then that doesn't incur income tax. So that has the impact of increasing your personal allowance. So the way that people manipulate between their different savings is going to be really important in terms of ensuring that they maximise the income they ultimately generate.
Well, it's certainly going to be a busy few months ahead for the pensions industry, but thank you very much indeed for your views today, Jonathan.
Great, thank you.